Let's start with this one. And this one. And then this one. And this one. We can select them all, and we're going to do a scale. Again, I'm just going to get them lined up a little better. And that should be good. We're within our 0 to 1, but we're taking up as much space as we can. I don't want to go scaling them up this way, so I don't want to really do that. That's going to start stretching our UV map. Let's move those up here. Now these side pieces. One thing we could do is we could angle these diagonally. We may be able to get them a little larger that way. Let's have a look at that. So if we rotate our UV shell, we move it into the middle, you can see we can get it a little bit bigger by going on a diagonal. We still have to make sure we don't go outside of that 0 to 1 though. So let's do that. Let's take these two. We're going to rotate them as well. And place them in our UV. Let's take the two at the top. Let's get them lined up a little better. It doesn't really matter. This is only in the UV shell. If it was angled like that, as long as it wasn't overlapping, it wouldn't matter. But I'm just going to get them to look nicely laid out in our UV shell here. Let's take this one. Pop that one in, and then we just have our end pieces here. They can go anywhere really. Alright, that should be good for what we want. So we've UV mapped that piece of geometry up now. Let's do an export into FBX so we can take it into Substance Painter to create the material. I'm just going to create a new folder called Main Stairway. And we will export that railing section and that runner into a file called mainstairrail.fbx. We can use the same template painted to UE4 that we were using before. Let's jump into Substance Painter, create a new project. Let's load up the mesh we just exported from Max. Which is the main stair rail. We're making a document resolution of 2048, should be good enough. Alright, so we have our railing and our runner using one material. Now I created a smart material for all of our asset pieces here so that all of the colours of the wood matched between all of our different assets. And where are we? And I think it's called My Cherry Wood. Yep, this one here. Alright. Now, because we rotated our UVs on an angle inside of Max when we were getting them to take up as much space as we could, the material is running at an angle here inside of Substance Painter, so we need to correct that. We can do that through the UV rotation here in the main material, the cherry wood. The material underneath is a yellow wood, which we're going to see when we start adding a bit of damage to the wood. So let's start with the rotation. Let's just keep rotating our material around until it's facing in the correct direction. Oop. I didn't want to do that. Yes, I did want to do that. Okay. So now we have the wood running in the right direction, and this smart material, I've added just a generator to make the wood look a bit aged and old. You can see the wear pattern happening in the wood. That's just to make it look a little bit, like I said, it's a building from the 1930s. So it's going to have seen quite a bit of wear and tear here on the wooden railings. And I just wanted to make the wood look a bit aged and old. I'm just going to look at my scaling to make sure it's correct as well.
Been floating a million miles from home.
Okay, so I think that should be good. But we can add a little bit more wear to this wood. Even though it's got an overall general wear, aged look. I actually want to add a bit more detailing, similar to what we see in the other asset we brought into Unreal, these banister railings, the wearing on the side of the wood here and along the base, just in spots here and there, just to make the wood look a bit more unique. So let's do that. Let's start with the railing section here. I'm going to go into my my alpha map, jump into my brushes. I'm going to choose the dirt texture. I'm going to make sure the radius is quite small. We'll pull in a bit more. I'm just going to start removing some of the cherry wood here and there along the railing, just to make it look a bit more worn. I'm using my mouse here, but the Wacom tablet is better. If you have access to a tablet, a Wacom tablet or any tablet, using a stylus to do this is always going to be easier, because you can actually adjust the amount of wear by pressure. But don't feel that you need to buy a Wacom tablet. You can use your mouse. You're just going to have to be a bit more careful. And I'm not running my mouse or my tablet, the pen, all the way along that edge. I'm missing some spots here and here, again, just to make it look a bit more natural. And the harder I press, the more it'll erase from the cherry wood back to the yellow wood underneath. Okay, let's flip around to the other side. Now, if we had a Substance Painter has a generator that does edge wear for you, but I don't like to use it because it tends to make every model look the same. I'm more of an artist, so I like to get in and actually do things by hand. I don't like a procedurally generated wear object. I don't want the computer to do it for me automatically, and I don't want it to do it automatically. Not because I don't like it being done automatically. It's more because the computer tends to make everything look the same. And that's one of the problems I've found with Substance Painter. Everybody's models can start looking the same, and that's because everybody uses a generator to do their edge wear. And a generator is going to create the same look over and over and over again, because that's what the computer does well. It it can do a repetitive task quickly and exactly the same all the time. So I always prefer to get in and do things by hand when I can, which is another reason why I really like using Mari to do my texture painting, because I like that tactile feel of actually doing all this stuff by hand. But by all means, if you want to get it done quickly and you don't care if it looks like everybody else's model, then you can certainly add a generator. Where are we? I actually think I have to select the material to do that, but you can add a generator here, which has an option to do that sort of thing automatically, work based on a procedurally generated look, and based on your underlying mesh. But do remember, I'm skipping spots here and there. I'm not running my mouse all the way along that edge. So I'm just adding a bit of wear randomly along the edge. Okay, let's do this one more inside edge here. I'm going to switch back to using the mouse just to show you that you can do the same thing with the mouse. But I don't want people to think that... One of the reasons I'm on Twitch is to encourage you guys to do 3D. It's a really fun thing to do. It's very creative. But I don't want people to think that you need to spend huge amounts of money to do it. So I don't want you to think that you need to buy a Wacom tablet to actually do any of this, you can use a mouse, which is what I'm doing now. I don't want you to think you need to spend a huge amount of money on a 3D program, because you don't. You can download Blender, which is what I showed you before. It's completely free. It's a very good 3D program. A lot of the guys that watch my channel use it. So you don't have to buy Max or Maya, you can use that. The program I'm using here, which is Substance Painter, is made by a company called Algorithmic. I believe they're a French company. The software to purchase is $149, which I know is not cheap, guys, but you can get it's great software. If you're doing 3D painting, it's really reasonably priced. I tend to prefer to use a program here called Mari. Now, it's expensive to purchase, but they let you use it completely free if you don't make anything commercially. So as long as you're not working commercially for a studio while you use it, it's completely free to use and it's fully functional. So you can go to the Foundry's website, which is, I'll just jump into Google again. Again, this is for people that are interested in a 3D paint program. It's called MARI by the Foundry. It should be the first link at the top of Google when you type in Mari, M-A-R-I. You can go to their website, you can download the program completely free, you can use it completely free without any restrictions, so long as you're not using it commercially. So I encourage you guys to download it, try it. It's used in film a lot. Substance Painter here is used a lot more for games development. The largest texture size in Substance Painter is 8K, but Mari is used in cinema and film a lot more because it can use huge texture sizes. You know, we're talking texture sizes of 64K, 128K, massive textures, which are generally what's used in film. So it's completely free to use, like I said, as long as you're not using it commercially. Download it and try it. Now, Algorithmic, like I said, which is Substance Painter, this program here, is $149 to buy. I'm not sure. I think they might have a 30-day free trial, but I don't think you can use it permanently after 30 days. Whereas Mari, you can. It doesn't expire. You can use it for as long as you want, completely free, so long as you don't use it for commercial purposes. So do check out Mari. It's my preferred paint program. It's used in a lot of film work. As you can see, I think this may be something from Game of Thrones, perhaps. I don't actually watch Game of Thrones, so I'm not sure. So yeah, check out Mari. It's a great program, one I love. Substance Painter is good too, and it's used a lot, like I said, in games. So you don't have to spend a lot of money to get into 3D and play around with it. Even if you think you're no good at it, you're not going to get better at doing 3D until you practice. And how do you know if you're going to be good or not until you download some software and try it out? So please, guys, that's why I'm on Twitch. I want to encourage you guys to do 3D modeling. It's a fun, creative thing to do, and you can create some stuff, pardon me, that you'll never see anywhere else because it's, you know, it's coming from your mind and it doesn't exist in the real world. So you see me using the mouse here. I can still get my wearing and weathering. I've just got to be a little bit more careful. But it's completely doable. So you don't need a Wacom tablet. I mean, it helps, believe me. And studios generally will use Wacom. We use tablets at work. So, and it does take a little while to get used to using a stylus on a tablet. So the sooner you can get used to that, the better. If you do want to work in 3D or design. All right, so we've added just a bit of wearing and tearing on our railing sections here. Let's save this project. Main stair rail. Main stair rail. And let's export our textures. Make sure our path here is correct. So We want work, UE4 projects, models, Deco building, exports, main stair rail. And we'll export it as a 2K texture and do an export. Okay. Let's jump back into Max and load up that texture we just exported. Zoom out. These are all the textures for the assets that are in the level at the moment. Let's pull in a standard material, a bitmap. We're not going to get the normal. I'm not going to load in the normal or the occlusion. We'll do that in Unreal. I just want to get the color in Max. Main stairway rail, main stair rail. Okay, we'll pipe that into the diffuse channel. In Max, you always must make sure you turn on show shaded, and I always turn on show realistic, just in case I want to change my viewport up here. We have our railing selected, so let's assign that new material. Again, like I said, we don't have normal maps or occlusion maps here in Unreal, in Max showing. That'll show up in Unreal though, when we import the model. So that's our railing section done. Let's look at our stairs now, I think. Let's make sure we do a save here in Max to make sure that we don't lose any work. Now, again, this is made up of two different materials. Let's bring that into Substance Painter and see what we can do with it. Main steps is what this one is called. We'll keep it in our main stairway folder. Okay, back into Substance Painter. Just make sure we've saved that project. Let's create a new project. Select the main steps that we just exported. Again, 2K is fine. Alright. Now we have our plain wood and our white marble. The white marble we want for the steps, the plain wood we want for this side paneling. Let's jump into our materials and see what we've got to work with. Let's load up the cherry wood we're using for our railings, I think maybe for the wooden side paneling. Again, we just got to go into our add smart material that we created and load up that cherry wood. Give the program a match up. Stuff. Is the other problem I've heard people out with Substance Painter. Can be a bit sluggish sometimes. There we go. Alright. So, let's look at what it's done here to our wood paneling. Actually, what we forgot to do is we forgot to do a normal UV map before we did this. So, let's jump back into Max. I hope you guys are seeing me okay. It looks like I'm dropping quite a few. I have dropped quite a few frames for some reason. Still seem to be streaming, so that's okay. Let's look at our UV mapping here. Let's go into sub-object mode and let's select that side wood paneling. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with an unwrap UVW. Open up our UVW editor window. This is the reason our UVs look weird inside of Substance Painter, because it's not, it's outside of the 0 to 1 space. So we're going to make sure we scale that back and so it stays within that square. I'm also going to rotate it around. I want it to better match the object that it's being mapped to. And we can also flip it on the vertical. Oh, come on, don't do this. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do a flatten mapping here. It'll just make it easier for me to see what's going on. Now, I've always said to you guys, don't overlap your UVs if you're doing a 3D paint, if you're using a 3D paint program. In this case, we can, because we're never going to see the back of that, the inside of that model. In fact, we could even remove the polygons from the inside there, because there's a wall behind it and we'll never see this section under the stairs. I'm just thinking, it's only going to be one try, so it's really not going to use a lot more polygons. But what that means is we can actually overlap our UVs here. So I can pull these two on top of each other. And now I suggest you don't do this if you're going to be painting in a 3D paint program like Substance Painter or Mari, unless you'll never see the other side like we won't here, in which case you can overlap your UVs. And we're doing that just so we can save on texture. We can make this as large as possible within our UV space without worrying about two halves. We're going to do the same thing again though. We're going to rotate it just so we can make it as large as possible before we go outside of that square. Let's scale it up. Alright, that should be good. Let's move these ones in as well. We may scale these two down just a little bit. Again, these are on the bottom and the side, which you're never really going to see anyway. And the same with these two pieces here, we're never really going to see them either. It's really only this main triangle that we're going to see from one side. So we'll just move them into the space though to make sure they're not outside of 0 to 1. And that should be good. We can collapse our stack. Just before we do that, because this is part of a multi-object, we've got this UV down the bottom and we've got one at the top as well. We don't want our UVs to overlap. Yeah. I'm going to jump back into that editor and I'm just going to move all the UVs we just placed outside of 0 to 1, just temporarily. Actually, it may be okay because we're using two separate materials. This is not going to be all part of one material, so we can keep them within 0 to 1 here. Collapse that stack. But we have to UV map the stairs as well. So again, we're going to go into sub-object mode, make sure our stairs are selected. I'll throw down an unwrap UVW again. And we're going to flatten mapping this one. That should work for what we want. collapse that stack again. Alright, let's just do another export again on that FBX file. Main steps is the one we want. I'm just going to jump back into Substance Painter and I'm going to re-import that new main steps we just exported again. Again, we just got to wait for Substance to work out what's going to organize itself. Alright, now we can go into our cherry wood we're using here for our side panel and play with our rotation. And also our scaling. We're going to have to go up a bit on the scaling, I think. I'm just looking at our settings we have here, see if there's anything I want to change. Our fibers and our layers. I think I want to pull right back on the layer. I don't want that repeating pattern that we're seeing through here. And I don't want too much of a repeating pattern like that either. These sliders for Substance Painter can be really fiddly. we may leave it there for today, guys, actually. I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the United States. I do want to thank you guys for hanging out and for watching. I appreciate that. If you want to know when I'm live, my schedule doesn't change. I always stream on a Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the US. But I do post 15 minutes before I go live to my Twitter page at PhilDoes3D. So if you're not sure, you can keep an eye on my Twitter page. There'll be a post 15 minutes before I go live tomorrow. But I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time in the US. Again, like I said, I do want to thank you guys very much for hanging out and watching. I'll be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. and hopefully I'll see you guys then. We can finish off doing these stairs. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back on again tomorrow.